can't possibly script something like this.
Live.
Join us on a daily live adventure into the heart of the African wild right here on Wild Earth.
Those sounds just go straight through you.
Expert guides search for the captivating animal characters of Africa.
Baby pangolin, guys, is off the charts. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
You can ask us questions in real time using #WildEarth on Twitter. Join us for 2 live shows every single day only on Wild Earth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, and another beautiful morning has started. We are here in the Maasai Mara and already the sun is up. Look how beautiful it is. We're ready for this morning safari, and all I would wish you is to have a very good time. Welcome to your morning live safari. Well, Jumbo, and another beautiful morning has started. It is official. The sun is up. A new day has begun, and it's just beautiful, beautiful. As you can see, that is a Balanites aegyptica tree. I'm in the Maasai Mara, in the Mara Triangle, Kenya, East Africa, and this morning we're here on our way to the marsh and then past the marsh to the bush. Good morning, my name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungei. My mission this morning is to take you down towards the riverine forest, try to see if we can find Romy and her cubs. That is my plan this morning. Remember to talk to us on #WildEarth. You can send in your kid question at Wild Earth TV and also at FC. The weather this morning in Maasai Mara is 16 degrees Celsius, or if you like to say 60 degrees Fahrenheit. We are in East Africa. Elevation here is around 5,600 to 6,000 feet, very close to the equator. And welcome once again. Look at this beauty that we have this morning. All these are the migrating herds, and over here looks like we have a lot of stripies. I mean zebras. These are the Butler zebra, the Balanites aegyptica tree. That is a very unmistakable wildebeest. Looks like there is a bit of mist or haze. That is from the coolness that exists down there, and that's where I'm headed. I'm dressed enough so I won't be cold. And look at how beautiful it is. I hope you're well this morning. Can you hear the birds singing? Well, remember that I'm joined by my colleagues in Southern Africa and also here in the Maasai Mara to bring you this live safari that we don't know what lies ahead, but I hope we're going to have lots and lots of exciting things for you. The zebras here looks like they're really enjoying the morning, grass. They have survived the night, so they're really, really happy. Some of them are still dozy. You can see they're doing nothing, just standing there. I think they're grateful to be alive this morning. Remember, this is a prolonged migration that we've had this year, which is going to go down into the books, that it has lasted longer than normal. But we are not complaining. We're really appreciating this. Our cats are going to be well fed. But what lies ahead is a lot of confusion. The wildebeest and the zebra are here because they do this annually, coming towards this area, staying here for about 3 months, and then eventually heading back to where they stay for a little bit longer in Tanzania, a place called Serengeti. They normally stay in different parts of the Serengeti because Serengeti is so huge. So it takes them about 6 months to go around it. They give birth on the southern side, then go towards the western side, and eventually, heading north to arrive here in the months of July, August, and September. They stay here. Those rolling hills you can see a long way there, that is the northern part of the Gemara Game Reserve. That is Aitong Hills or Kipeleone Hills. It's approximately around 80 kilometers. So if you can see that, your eyesight is okay. In between that, there's a lot of wildlife conservancies and a place to explore. Can you hear the wildebeest gnawing? Do you think, Maggie Jumbo, you asked me, do I think that it lasted longer because of the visitors? Did I get that right? If not, you can correct me, but no. Yeah, the migration. Here, what made it last longer is there is enough grass, and what drives the migration is in search of grazing. And so there is still plenty to graze here. And also we've had some unusual rain pattern that has been making the grass last longer. So that is what has made the migration last longer. It's not about anything else. And that could be caused by global warming. And so it is evident global warming is everywhere. Those running up there could be males that are trying to square it off because of a female that's coming into season. Sometimes they run like that and you think they're quite serious, then all of a sudden they'll stop and forget that they were actually chasing one another, but those ones looks like they're really going for it. I don't know how much longer they might forget. That's usually typical of them to do that. Look at the light. This is also called the photographer's paradise. As you can see, the light this morning. Just imagine you were here with your camera clicking away. How beautiful is that? You don't need to adjust those, technical settings that you have in your camera. This is just natural, and your picture comes out like magic. This is how beautiful it is. Look at this. Those are females. They rarely fight, but I think they decided to show it off a little bit. Look at the colors. That's a Butcher zebra, one of our grazers that really feeds and loves the red oat grass or Thamida triandra. That is the grass that brings them up here. Remember that a lot of mating happen while they're here, and so by the time they get back, they give birth in Serengeti. Also, there's lots of river crossings, there is lots of movement, and when we say a migration, it's always not in one direction. They sometimes move in totally the wrong direction. Like, a month ago, they were all headed towards the Serengeti, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, they turned back, and they have been here now, and I don't know how much longer they will stay. This is a very long way from the border. I'll give it a good 20 to 30 miles. And so I don't know when they'll be heading back. Well, I would like them to stay a little bit longer so I can show them to you, or we can show them to you every day. But who am I to say anything? When you see them with their heads down like this, it means there is no movement triggered yet. Right now it's just a matter of grazing. But after sitting in this direct sunlight for about 2-3 hours and their back starts getting hot, then the urge to cool down, to have a drink, comes, and that's when you start seeing them making a movement, usually forming long straight lines that can stretch up to sometimes 2 miles. And that's when they go towards the river trying to drink, but sometimes they eventually cross the river. Well, there is a lot that awaits you this morning, so let me take you to another live safari vehicle somewhere else.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to the other side of the Mara. Look at this beautiful landscape. I can see wildebeest running over there, and I don't know what has spooked them. Could be maybe a lion or something else. So I'll just drive there to find out what's going on. Wow, look at how fast they're running. And I'm assuming there must be a predator there. Looks like there's some warthogs running. Don't know what scooped the warthog. Maybe the warthog made these wildebeest to run, but I'll just investigate this right about now. Look at those warthogs there. It's a family. No one wants to take any chance here out in this savannah. So the escape is the best thing that you can do out here. So my name is Tim, and behind camera is Big James. Very warm weather, looks very colorful. It's not as chilly as compared to yesterday. We have lots of activity right now. Sometimes we stop and don't know what's happening because of the long grass. Just as we stopped here, 2 minutes later, this will be bolted off. I'm tempted to go and check out what scooped those wildebeest. Look at how beautiful it is. The sun is shining on the red hot grass. I can hear birds chirping there. Doves, yellow-throated sparfowl. Seems like nothing actually scooped them. Maybe it was just they got a little bit scared by the warthogs there. So I'll just drive around to see what else is around this area, because it's still a nice temperature to see cats. I'm going to look for the Owino pride who reside on that side and see if we're lucky. They have about 3 cubs, a litter of 2 liter, 2 small ones, and one about 6 or 7 months. See if we're successful. So to carry on my mission, I'll take you over to another safari vehicle.
Oh, Tim, it sounds like your weather is a little bit better than ours. We are 13 degrees Celsius, 56 degrees Fahrenheit with rain. Hopefully it will hold up and we'll be able to stay out. Hi everyone, it's me, Trishala, and I've got BK on camera with me this morning in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, and we're here at Treehouse Dam, hoping to find the Avoca male that was moving around in this area. But instead we have some Egyptian geese that have come down. They're all the way in the far end. Yeah, straight in. And to the left. BK's struggling this morning, guys. BK has glasses now, everybody, so he should be able to see doubly as good, right, BK? There's our Egyptian geese, blending in very well with the low light and the color of Treehouse Dam water and the sand. They always look like a couple that's fighting, I've found. Especially when they shout, and it looks like they're shouting at each other, but of course they're not. They're just calling. scarlet barbet calling there in the distance too. It's a really nice morning. So much rain. It's just been lovely. Yesterday, when we left the Nkuhumas, Mpho and I were caught in such a downpour. I don't think I've ever been that soaked and drenched. Actually, maybe once before. It's been a long, long time. But I'm glad, and I'm sure the bush is too. Can you just imagine that last year this time, Treehouse Dam was dry, Buffelshoek Dam was a crater, we were calling it that. Twin Dams was also dry. And look at it, this is still so full from the rains last year. So I can only imagine this year how beautiful and full it's going to be, teeming with life. Here these two go. Fresh grass, seeds. It must be like having roast vegetables with some good sauce from all the water. Now the Roka male, who was last seen, he moved from Philemon's Dip, where he was yesterday morning, towards Shibama Road, which is not too far from here. It's just to the west of Treehouse Dam. So we're going to go look for him there. We also heard him calling from this direction around 5 o'clock last night or yesterday afternoon. Maybe we'll be lucky, but it is likely that he joined the rest of the pride in the north through the night. Well, let's hope he'll show us his face. I also want to check out the Hyena Den here, although I'm quite certain it is no longer active after the lioness's visit to Corky. Oh, wind's picking up. But at least the rain is just a nice light drizzle at the moment. Ruth, you'd like to know if these geese are monogamous? Yes, they are, but not for life, although they can mate for life, but they will for one, so monogamous means that they will for one breeding season stick together, so they don't have multiple partners for that breeding season. So they are monogamous in that sense, and they will mate for life, some of them, but they don't have to. There are actually very few animals that will mate for life. And sometimes the meaning of monogamous, especially for birds, can be misconstrued as mating for life, when in fact it really, in its most fundamental meaning, is to mate for that season without any other partners. Well, off they go about their morning business, and we're going to go through as well and look for that Avoca male.
Very warm welcome and hello from Tswalu Kalahari. Beautiful scene Glenn has set up there for us of that wonderful chunk of cheese in the sky. It's quite breezy. You can see, and quite cold. I've got my beanie peak on. Very stylish. Good morning, my name's Carl. Behind camera is Glenn. Very warm welcome. We are sitting about 60 meters from this potential Cape Fox burrow or den, and we are just seeing if there's any activity. So Glenn can show you over there. Beautiful little mounds of soil. And we have done a check 2 or 3 days in a row now by looking at the little animal's footprints coming in and out of the hole. It is definitely in there. I might have to get my little Cape Fox dress on and strut my stuff to try and impress this thing out. But what we're hoping for is that with this bit of cool weather that we're experiencing this morning, cooler temperatures, that when the sun starts to warm up, this little animal utilizes that available warmth, and hopefully we can catch a little glimpse of it. And then after this, we're going to go try and find the rock stars and have a meerkat morning. We don't know where they went to bed last night, so finding them this morning might be a little bit of a challenge. But if we are successful, great, and if we are not, then there's plenty of other stuff to keep us entertained. But quite breezy this morning, and that's okay. This is the start of the day. A lovely morning. This makes me take deep breaths. I appreciate it. But after the jam-packed day we had yesterday, we're going to keep the safari pace going. And hopefully the Kalahari will provide with what we need. It always does. Mother Nature has a tendency of doing that, giving you exactly what you need at that point in time. But that's a little burrow. There's 2 or 3 entrances, and the one on the far left... Sorry, Glenn. Oh, Glenn's making it just look so beautiful. So out of those little burrows, the one on the far left-hand side is the one that has been continuously used. So that's where I've marked it, and it's using that specific hole coming in and out, so more than likely now operating under the cover of darkness. But they will utilize that warmth, like I said, in these cooler, breezier days. And I just really, fingers and toes crossed, we can catch a glimpse of this magnificent little animal. But absolutely beautiful day here on Tswalu. The mountains in the background. Just mouth-watering stuff. I think we beat the birds this morning. Just starting to start doing... Sarah, how deep are these burrows? Roughly, more than likely, the same, around about the same depth that the bat-eared foxes will go down, 1/2 meter to 1 meter, where they will be interconnected, those tunnels, and some of those tunnels would lead up into a central chamber where the animal would curl itself up and remain warm through the chilly or unfavorable periods. It's also a spot where they would use for denning. So if it was a female with a few pups, this is a spot that she would use to keep those pups safe and warm for the first few weeks. So 1/2 meter to about 1 meter. And this looks like a fairly shallow and fairly small burrow. That can be a lot more extensive than this over here. There's only 3 entrances, and just the one on the far left-hand side is the one that's being used. So it must like the western-facing entrance to its little home. But has the ability to modify and dig its own. It does adopt and use other burrows used by other animals or created by other animals like southern ground squirrel or the meerkats. But it does have the tools necessary to modify and as well as dig its own. So a nice setting there of the arid savanna biome. We spoke of that yesterday. So you can see how those trees are splayed out a bit more in comparison to yesterday. Where are all the birds, Glenn? Do you think they're still sleeping?
Yeah.
Glenn says the birds are still stuck in bed. Feels like I should be stuck in bed. Maybe I should have brought my blanket with today. Kalahari scrub robin. African red-eyed bulbul. We're going to send you off to another amazing safari location. We'll see you shortly.
Well, a different area of the Mara. After leaving those beautiful wildebeest, have decided to come and try and fulfill my mission. This is Romi's territory. In case maybe you haven't been with us, Romi is the female leopard with the 2 cubs. I haven't seen her for quite a while, almost a month. And this is the area where she normally resides. So I have decided to come here, and on my way looking for her. Of course, there's always something here and there. And there is this beautiful small herd of elephants that are truly enjoying this morning lush grass. Their backs must be appreciating the little bit of heat, from the sun. It has been a very chilly night, and they must be enjoying this sunrise and, also the sun on their backs. How spread they are. Okay, actually, I was listening to the sounds of hyenas from across the river. Looks like there's really something going on there. I don't know if you heard that, anyone? Sounds like, somebody's in trouble. Either they're trying to get some food off a lion, because they sound like there are more than 50 of them. Unfortunately, I cannot cross the river. But yeah, talking about these guys, they are very spread out, which means there's no war in the world. And this African elephant, they are led by the matriarch. The matriarch is the oldest female. She is the mastermind. She's got all the data, like we say nowadays, of anything they need. She knows, where to be at any different situation. Elephants don't like, wildebeest, and so they always try to stay away from the noisy wildebeest, and I'm sure she knows that, and that's why she has brought this small herd quite a long way from that noise. Soumya, Jumbo, you want to know the weight of a young elephant? When you say young, I would assume you're talking about at birth. They say it's around 120 kilos at birth. It's a big baby. So it is 120 kilos at birth, that's a calf, but they gain weight really, really fast. The guy we are looking at, he's a young male, and looking at him, I already can give him a good, maybe, 500 kilos. He's quite big, you can look at him, so he's huge. Yeah, they grow very fast. And fully grown, so they have been recorded to weigh up to around 6 tons. That is a lot of meat, bone, and muscle. Females can weigh up to around 4,000. And, it's no joke, these animals are very, very big, and they convert land second to man. Apart from uprooting trees, debarking trees, so making them dry, they also consume a lot of grass equivalent to the amount that we mow our grasses. They would do that, quite easily. Not only that, but they do dig out tubers and roots using their tusks. So they actually are transformers of these beautiful, plains. Here, I would say they are here because they love the grass. Here, there's plenty of lush grass. I normally say it's like eating noodles or spaghetti because it's really soft and yummy because it's been rained on. It's full of dew. it's not coarse like, they would eat it during the day when it's really, really hot. Over there's a tiny, weeny little one. I don't know, let's have a look, see how old it is. That one, it's easy, less than about 3 months, I would say 2 months. And at that age, they're just beginning to learn how to use their trunk, which is normally quite fun to see them try to use it. But he looks like he's a bit cold, so he's not as active. I cannot blame him, being out here exposed to all sort of elements, wind, rain, dew. It must be cold, but I'm sure she's drinking and having those, highly nutritious milk that it needs. We have no shortage of elephants in the Mara. The good numbers are growing. They're making a comeback. They were very threatened in some years back, but they're really, really coming back, and they're making a comeback. It is estimated that, around, compared to what it was previous years, but this is an animal that is making very, very good progress, and I'm really proud to say that we have to continue protecting it. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. Questions and comments are really, really welcome. It is another beautiful morning, as you can see. Let's take you to another live safari vehicle.
Good morning, everyone, from a nice and chilly and beyond Punda Private Game Reserve. We just came across a secretary bird that's slowly waking up and preening itself there on top of a nice green tree, and some giraffes in the background there. My name is Dewald, and behind the camera we've got Craig, and we've come into this area to see if we can maybe look for some rhinos and cheetah this morning, but we got very lucky when we got this secretary bird that's right at the top there. And you can see it's actually got its head back now, fluffing up all its wings, trying to clean itself and sort its feathers out. Look at that crest actually blowing up in the wind. Such spectacular birds. Look at that, it's actually raising the crest up completely while it's fluffing up its feathers like that. You can hear all the birds calling in the background as well. A little bit late for the dawn chorus, but there's quite a few birds calling. We actually have been seeing a pair of secretary birds in this area over the last week or so, and they are monogamous, like most birds are. So the male and female somewhere around here. Actually, I can see in the tree just to the right hand side below the secretary bird there, almost like a lighter colored something there in the tree. I don't know if there's, maybe the other secretary bird is sitting in the same tree as this one. It does happen that they roost together in trees. Wonder, you can see that long tail there. Wonder if the other secretary bird is in there, so with it. Like I said, they are monogamous, and they'll find a spot like this on top of a tree to actually nest as well. And we're pretty lucky that they are down in a dip, so they're about the same height as we are. So we had a pretty nice view of them. Miley, you are asking how much a secretary bird weighs. So to give you an idea of the size of them, they are about the same height as a blue crane and a lot of the crane species, but they are kind of in their own families, but they weigh only about 4 kilograms, and the male is a little bit bigger than the female, so I'd say probably around 3.5 to 4 kilograms, so not a heavy bird at all, or actually quite heavy for a bird, but not as heavy as you would think. can see those long legs as well with their little shorts on, and a bit of feathers on the top parts of the legs. If this individual goes down from the tree, then we might see they've got absolutely no feathers on the bottom part of the legs. And they've got a perfect spot to perch and roost for the night, because this individual here, the secretary bird, would have tried to get off of the ground to avoid the nocturnal predators that might prey on it. And I don't know if you can see there, but when it turns its head like that, you can see the crest, which they sometimes let stand up when they get nice and excited. And you can see the red and yellow on the face as well. What beautiful, beautiful birds. Really sorting out his wings and everything, getting ready to hunt for the day. And for those of you that don't know, but this is the bird that is on the national crest of South Africa, the bird that spreads its wings around the crest. But it is not the national bird. The national bird is the blue crane. Look at that long tail. Wow. Always love finding these birds, because in my mind they resemble like a velociraptor dinosaur almost, with those long legs and even the way that they run and hunt. But while this secretary bird is preening itself, I think Craig and I are going to hang around here and see if they start moving around and maybe fly down to the ground. See if we can follow them a little bit and see if they do actually hunt or not.
From the secretary bird, who is very, very elegant. I like the way they walk in the long grasses when they're searching for snakes. Now back here in the Maasai Mara, we are watching this wildebeest crossing. But this is a different kind of crossing. They're not crossing the Mara River, but they're crossing the road. We have been here for a little while. These herds have been concentrating here just below the escarpment, or Ololo escarpment, which forms the western corridor of the game reserve, Maasai Mara, and the Mara Triangle. How nice is this? They're all walking in a single file. I can see a few zebras. They don't have designated leaders, but sometimes they take turns to lead these herds. And when one stops, another one takes the lead. So it carries on alternating. So that is the crossing I was talking about. They're crossing the river, and this time not the Mara River. Sorry, they're crossing the road and not the Mara River. I'm used to the river that much. They're crossing the road. So they're walking over to the Ololo escarpment, where it rained about 3 days ago. So that area has not been grazed at all. So it's actually has enough grass, maybe sweet for them. This grass is so rich in protein and phosphorus, which actually comes in handy when these migratory herds are moving from one place to another. As far as this, the base of the escarpment, you can see lots of herds there. And seems like they're all walking towards the east. So probably maybe in a few days we might be witnessing a crossing. Good thing that lions now have to take advantage of these herds. Thank you so much for your question. We don't experience that much of a stampede, but during the river crossing, that's when you get to see this, when they are trying to exit the river from a very narrow point and they end up stampeding. Or sometimes when there's a predator that is chasing them, that is when you can see stampedes, but not so often that I get to see a stampede. this number is so big such that you can't even tell when this will stop. See what happens, one stops and then another one takes the lead. So many people might ask if they have leaders who take them through this migration, but no, they keep on alternating, they keep on splitting and joining herds. See now, right, they've changed direction. Previously they were just crossing over in front of our vehicle, but now they've changed course, now heading backwards or behind the car. And that is what prompts them to follow each other. When one takes the lead and stops, then they keep on carrying on that direction. The reason why they're running just near the bushes is because animals, especially plains game, will be wary of predators, and sometimes they can be super cautious when they're walking through the bushes, so they have to run as fast as they can to get out of the bushes because predators can hide behind those bushes. I like the way the sun is shining on their white mane, brings a beautiful reflection, a beautiful color there. You can see a lone zebra has decided to join. So every day they make these movements from one area to another. They utilize the grass, they go to drink water, and as rocking they can also walk a long way, up to 12 kilometers round trip in search of water and good grazing ground, and sometimes they are known even to walk over 50 kilometers just because they've been attracted to rain. And their presence here means that we still have rains that will be in these parts of the Mara, although in the upstream where the Mara River flows from there is no rain, because yesterday I was just at the river, the water levels have gone down, so that will also be an advantage when these zebras and wildebeest are crossing, because sometimes when the currents are too strong they end up being washed downstream. So I'll carry on to find more game as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Good morning and welcome to the western fringes of a very wet Greater Kruger National Park. There is a rather bedraggled looking Nyala who is in the company of a number of other rather bedraggled looking Nyala. It's a pretty chilly, cold, windy, wet morning here. My name is James Hendry, hello, and on camera today is Paul. There's his thumb. And we have been following the tracks of a lioness and have failed to find her so far. The rest of the Nkuhuma Pride is apparently on a buffalo kill just to the east of our boundary, naturally. But we'll see if we can find that other lioness and whatever else might be around here today, braving the weather. I hope you're all well on this Monday morning, and while the conditions might not be particularly magnificent out here right now, it sure beats being in the traffic somewhere on a Monday morning, and so I shall be grateful. I'll take the bit of wind and wet I must cope with. It rained just about all night, so I think we probably have had about 35 to 40 millimeters of rain in the last 36 hours or so, which is pretty good. And I think this front is set to stay for another 3 days or so. spectacular shot there that Impala is getting of the male Nyala. That's an award winner, Impala. Look at that. You can even see his eyes. I'm afraid he is hidden behind as many sticks as he can find. It's funny, every so often there's a break in the weather, so it kind of stops raining and the wind stops briefly and the birds immediately start singing. And then it closes in again and they kind of shut up and go back into whatever shelter they can find. And then it stops and they come out and they start singing. I'm sure those lions are deeply satisfied with the fact that they have managed to find themselves a buffalo. Right, now I know that this is an absolutely spectacular sighting, but I think that it's probably time we pressed on and moved to something else.
So we were sitting with that secretary bird earlier, and then we got an update of some audio of lions in the distance or so, and we actually started driving, and then we came across 3 white rhinos. You can see just their backs above the bushes. We're just waiting. There's a bit of a clearing just next to us here. You can see them slowly moving and feeding, and it looks like it's a big female with an older calf and a tiny little calf youngster. And Craig was also saying now he thinks it's around about, and I agree with him, around about 4-5 months old. See if they keep on feeding. There you can see the older calf coming out down at the bottom there, walking to the right. So previous calf, and then the female mated with a male while this youngster was a little bit younger. Moving a bit down. I can actually see on the female there's a couple of red-billed oxpeckers sitting on her back there. There you can just see one sitting up and keeping an eye on us on that bump on her back. Maybe that red-billed oxpecker is a little bit cold and waiting for the sun to come and heat it up. And there's a bird that just flew over and sitting right at the top there. It's actually a Cape glossy starling, it seems, that is following the rhinos and feeding on some of the insects that they are disturbing. The female's now moved off to the right-hand side, and there comes the youngster. Look at that. There he is, slowly following mom. Oh, what a cute little boy he is. There he goes. Mom, don't get too far away from me. You can see how small that little horn is at the front. And the oxpecker is just catching a ride. They are unfortunately walking a bit away from us, so we are losing them behind the bushes there. Lisby, you're asking how many white rhinos there are left in the wild. I think there's actually white rhinos are not doing that bad. It's the black rhinos that are a little bit less, but I think there is probably around a couple of thousand. To be honest, they are seen as near threatened, not vulnerable or endangered yet, the white rhinos. And I think the population in the wild at the moment is, if I'm not wrong, around 19,000 to 21,000. That was in like 2015, the last kind of census that they did in the wild. So there's quite a lot of white rhinos, but nonetheless still an animal of concern if poaching keeps on going the way it is. So just by looking at this little grouping here, you can see this female has an older calf and a younger calf, and it takes a long time for these youngsters to get their independence from her and to grow up to the point where they can reproduce. And that is why rhino poaching is such a big concern, because it takes a while for these animals to reproduce. So this older calf will only leave its mum probably in about a year or a year and a half, when it's about 4 years old, and only really start reproducing and become sexually developed when it's a little bit older. So it does take them quite a while to get to that age. You see how they're actually zigzagging, so turning around and walking back this way now a little bit. A lot of nice lush green grass coming out after the first summer rains that we've had. You can even see in the background along these dead bushes, lots of green grass coming out. But for now, I think while they are zigzagging like this, we might get visual and lose visual of them. So we'll, I think, leave them be and let them feed, and see if Craig and I can go look for some other animals.
Good morning, everybody, I suppose, from Pridelands. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me, as usual, is Sebastian Rombi. That's a new sign that you've got there. Done with the old thumbs up?
Monday.
It's Monday, yes. We always forget about what day it is in the bush. I'm sorry, we actually don't have anything for you at the moment. We're currently on a hunt for, well, not a hunt, but we're searching.
Here in the Mara, we've come across a very nice bird of prey that I also consider as one of my favorite, the Butler Eagle. This eagle is so unique such that they take about 7 years before they get the full color plumage. They have a red face, they have a very nice color on their face. Look at how beautiful his face is. So he's hiding there to look or scan for prey. They'll take snakes, rodents, lizards. You always see them solitary, but when they're in a pair, sometimes you can tell if they're mating pair or not. The female only lays one egg in a nest. But unfortunately, if the egg is broken or maybe got stolen by another bird, then she doesn't lay another egg. So they only lay one egg, and that chick has to be taken care of for a long time. You can see this is a female. By the look of the margin on the tip of the wings, you tell the difference between a male and a female by the black margin on the tip. So a male has a thick black margin, while a female has a slender or thin margin. It got its name from the French, where butler means tightrope walker or the street entertainer. The reason being they have a very short tail, so when they fly, it seems like they are balancing off from someone who's walking in a group. In the early morning, on the late afternoon, it's so active in the long grasses because we have grass rats, we have tree rats that be walking around in the grasses, and that's what these birds take an advantage of. like the way the wind is blowing out his crest. Jan, thank you so much for your question. You determine the age by looking at the plumage. Young Butler Eagles who have not yet got the fully colored plumage. The face of a young one will be about yellow, and the feathers will be brownish in color. That tells you that they are not yet on the 7 age margin where they are already adults or get the full color plumage. And then the adults always have that complete red on the face. And when you look at their feathers, they're black, and then the margins get so conspicuous. So by looking at the color plumage, that is actually how you tell or age the bird. They have very sharp eyes. It's reckoned that birds of prey can see color, and most birds can also see color. So we have the reason why we have them seeing color is to be able to identify some prey that are toxic or not. And when you come across seed eaters, the help of them having to see color, they can be able to identify which fruits are ripe or not. Remember, coming to you live, #WildEarth. For young viewers, kids question at wildearth.tv. The YouTube comment section at FC. As we wait and look for this bird to make a kill or maybe go out for another mission, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
We found the half-eared cow. We've been seeing her so often lately, and that's just really, really lovely. She's here with her little calf. And again, she's doing a number on the nearby sticks and roots. I found her to be exceptionally good with the use of her trunk. Not that other elephants are bad. There's just something about the way that she uses her tusk. Because she's actually doing it now. She uses a tusk and her trunk to wedge, to hold a branch by wedging it between the two. And then she uses the tip of her trunk to do whatever she needs to. But they're very well hidden behind these trees. We saw another herd, but it went very, very quickly. They were rushing towards Twin Dams Road. And they were coming from this area. So I wonder what they were rushing about, and I wonder why she stayed. Now, certain roads are closed, including Twin Dams Road, so we can't go on there to have a look, but maybe they've gone into the Mawati. I can hear some other elephants, but they're all in this thick bush. So we've had a look, we're on Shibama Road, and we've been having a look for that Avoca male. But we heard that the Nkuhumas have a buffalo kill on Torchwood. So it's very likely that he's moved to join them. And most of the cubs are there with one of the evokers. Oh, they're all trying to hide. So beautiful. I'm going to stick around here and see if they come out to say hello.
Well, we have Cross coming towards me. This is one of the females that we know here in the triangle, and she's got some interesting kind of tusks. You would say that why did she not go to the dentist earlier? But I think this happened during her childhood. Maybe she tried to pull something or, debug or something that was too thick for her, and it turned her tusks, that way. Oh, here we have something interesting. Southern ground hornbill, one of my favorite birds, rarely seen and amazing to see. It's the size of a turkey and spends a lot of its time on the ground. That little beak, like a chisel, has got, some character to reckon, because it can kill frogs, lizards. Look at this. Yeah. It looks like, the hornbill has disappeared. It looks like the elephants are coming towards us. I don't know what they will say to us, but they're really, really close to us. But they are behaving, turning around. One, releasing some flatulent a little bit. This family looks like it's got some crossed tusks, quite a good number of them. About 2 or 3 have got some crooked tusks. Quite some huge males in this herd. The one to the back with the hole in the ear, that's a male. So that's something that, we can always recognize him for a very long time. Yeah, they're being very respectful to us, giving us enough space. And yeah, that is fantastic. That is amazing. That's super. Yeah, they're just going behind us, and maybe now it's time to follow that beautiful ground hornbill who is over there. I don't know, Bunge, if you can see him. He didn't like the elephant, so he decided to move further up. Yeah, that big, can get rid of frogs, snakes, even tortoises, terrapins, and they spend a lot of their time on the ground. This bird call is associated with rain by the local tribes. Well, I'm going to leave you with that guy to enjoy, and let's see what another safari vehicle is doing.
Here we are at the waterhole in the northeast corner of Djuma, and I must say it looks like a warm bath in there. Although I'm sure it isn't like a warm bath, it looks like it might be. And the hippos are enjoying it immensely there. Doing relatively a lot for hippos. They're going under the water and coming up and going... They look like they're very satisfied with the temperature of their water. And I would say the temperature of the water is probably around about 19 or 20 degrees, maybe. A little bit less, maybe 18. And the temperature outside, especially with the wind, is probably around 10 degrees. And so that means it's warmer in than out. I've often wondered to myself why it is that for a human being, if I was to get into that water, and many of you will know this from when you've had a swim on a cold day, when you initially get into the water, it feels quite warm because it's warmer than the outside. But you get quite cold quite quickly. And even if the water is around about 18 degrees, you eventually get to a point where, you need to get out. And I suppose that being in cold air or being in similar temperatured water, so let me say this again because my brain is just slowly mulling it over. So, if there was no wind at all, which obviously increases the coldness of being out of the water, would your body feel the same in 18-degree water and 18-degree air? And the answer is no, I don't think it would, because 18 or 19 degrees is relatively comfortable for a human being outside of the water if there is no wind. Whereas in the water, that eventually gets cold. It gets too cold to be in. And I don't really understand why that should be the case. This is the question I'm asking you to try and answer for me. Unless it has something to do with the specific heat capacity of water. In other words, water heats up much more slowly than air would. And so maybe your body is able to warm up more quickly in air because the air around it can be warmed up more quickly. For the hippos, that problem doesn't exist because they obviously have a lot more insulation than we do. So they're totally insulated from the cold in the water by having a big fat layer of blubber.
Everyone, there is a black rhino bull literally a couple of meters away from us. I think he's just realized what we are, and now he's heading back down towards the thicker stuff. We are so lucky with the rhinos this morning. You were so close to us. Oh my goodness. I think it's quite a wind-quiet day, so he didn't see us until he was super close to us. He's now gone around towards the bottom part here where there's a bit more of a dense area. So I think it's maybe worth us creeping closer and seeing if we can get a view of him. Let's see if we can go a bit forward. Craig and I have been sitting very quietly, and he slowly has been walking towards us until I think he realized what we were. He's just about to cross the road in front of us. I'm not going to go any forward, just so we can see if he relaxes down. You can see he's not too happy with our presence. I'm going to give him his space. Yeah, he's walking now, but his tail's still curled up. So that tells us that he's not too happy. You can see that dip in his back there. Much different to the white rhinos that we saw earlier. And see how he immediately went down into the thickets there, trying to keep himself as camouflaged as possible. I think let's stay here for now. He's actually running now to the left-hand side. There he goes up the hill. Can get a nice view of him, even from up here. See the tail's just turning up, and there's actually a big dominant bull. He's just scent marked a little bit as he was running. How incredible is that? One of the most endangered animals to big mammals to see in Africa, and we just came upon him. Craig was sitting there and he was like, I think I just saw a rhino walk from far away, and we had a look, and it was actually a black rhino. He's actually approaching the white rhinos that we were filming earlier, and some wildebeest, and all the animals and the white rhinos actually listening in his direction. It will be awesome if we can get them in the same shot, because then you'll be able to see the size difference between a big dominant bull, black rhino bull, and maybe some white rhinos. So he's going through a little bit of a thicker area there. We're very lucky that we're on a little ridge here, so we can look at him from a distance. But he keeps on listening towards us. You can see those rounded ears just listening to us. So think of those white rhinos we saw earlier. You can see how high his head is sitting on his head. So this is a nice black rhino bull. Oh, he's actually walking straight towards the white rhinos. Some wildebeest there in the background as well. Okay, he's slowly walking through the thickets there. Did you asking if white rhino and black rhino crossbreed? In the natural world and in the wild, it is super, super rare, and it happens almost never. The animal that comes as a result of that. Oh, let's just quickly have a look here. What's happening? They've just realized that there's another rhino there, the white rhino and the black rhino. Immediately the white rhinos seem like they are starting to feed again. So just to get back to your question there, they do not crossbreed. The resulting calf that is an abomination, and would have, they've seen before that it has like the body and the mouth of a white rhino, but the intestines are developed to digest and leaves and twigs. Oh, look at that. How interesting is that behavior, that the white rhinos and the black rhino have absolutely no social interaction, completely happy with each other's presence. The white rhino has immediately started feeding, and the black rhino is on his way again. He keeps on looking back in this direction, though, keeping an eye on us and listening towards us here. So special that we can see both rhino species together and in such a short amount of time. So like I said, this is and looks like a big dominant bull. You can see his head just dipping down every now and then. So if he finds a spot where he smells, where he's scent marked before, or maybe a small bush like that, you might see him scent marked. Let's keep an eye on him. Yeah, see there, the tail picking up and spraying the urine to the back there. Scent marking on that bush. And the wind will carry his scent, making sure that no other bulls come into his territory. What a spectacular view of one as well. Standing right in the open. You can see how he picks his head up high as well. That body shape is so iconic of the black rhino. Head nice and high, and the saddle in the back. Walking onto the next ridge there. And yeah, he's not even like listening to us anymore. Just see his head pick up every now and then. Maybe smelling the wind as it's coming towards him. But the tail's down, so he's happy with this distance that he's between us and the white rhinos. Interesting how, just pick the tail up again a little bit. Interesting how even the behavior between these two species are so different. Walking right to the top of the next ridge there. A beautiful landscape to find a black rhino in as well. Big open rolling hills. I think he's heading towards the thickets that you can see there on the ridge. Maybe looking to feed, like we've said before. Black rhino feed only on twigs and leaves, and I think he's maybe heading towards the thick area up there to go and have a feed there. Greg and I might loop around to the next road and see if we can maybe get a view on that side. But for now, I think we're going to lose visual of him. So we'll keep on going, and hopefully we do.
I'm behind Ngala. So we're sitting with a clan of hyena, and those are actually two youngsters snuggled up together. And just before we turned the camera on, the one youngster actually started lying almost on its own head, just looking for warmth. So you are with me, Road, and Odie behind the camera this morning. And yeah, we just managed to get out. So the rain subsided for just a little while, and we decided to try head out, see what we can find. Also, see if the Timbavati River is flowing. So the first crossing we did was just a little bit east of here, and it seems to be flowing just in the tire track. So we've had a lot of rain. So with these hyenas, you can see all of them are full-bellied, which is quite interesting because they are the same hyenas you would have seen yesterday with the lions, and also not too far from where we left the Birmingham Pride yesterday. You can see every now and then Mom, the only adult here, she lifts her head, just checking for any weird sounds, but now with the wind picking up, it does make a lot of sound. Earlier she was looking at us because we've got these tiny little holes throughout the vehicles, so if the wind chimes through it, it actually makes a deep hollow kind of sound. But yeah, those two are still snuggled up. They look like the youngest two of the 5 hyenas that we're watching. I think they're just looking to find any warmth whatsoever. And then those two are a little bit older, so you can see the colors are not as dark as the adult. So also 2 youngsters, but you look at the belly of the one lying on its side, that one on the left. It is huge. So it definitely had something to eat last night. Like I said, last night would have been a good night for hunting. You know, with the rain, with the wind, it would have made a lot of noise. And then, of course, cloud cover ensuring it's very dark. So whatever predator went out hunting last night, I'm sure would have been successful. The roads are very wet. I don't think our soils are actually absorbing any more of the moisture. So everywhere we're driving now, there are just these massive puddles. We were joking about it earlier, saying we should have brought out the skis. Seven Pains was asked what animals are hyenas closely related to. So Seven Pains, they actually fall into their own family called Hyena Den. No, it's quite strange. So even though they look more like dogs than cats, their closer relation would be feline. It's the cat family. But yeah, they fall into their own family. But it is quite odd. I think when I was younger, when I just started working as a guide, or even training as a guide, I always thought that hyenas would fall into the dog family. But it seems they are more closely related to cats. See this female still waking up every now and then to any odd sound. But I don't think they'll be doing much today, especially this morning being so cold. So they've almost found a little bit of a drier spot. I mean, they're not lying down in very thick, wet grass. It's a bit of a dry spot and a bit of, well, not the best tree to block them from the rain, but at least there'll be some blocking. You can see there's still a tiny bit of a drizzle falling down, and it is very, very cold. Also she's breathing quite deeply, not very hard. So I don't think whatever that they ate must have happened last night. That very, very heavy breathing you often see with predators that just finished eating. See her eyes slowly shutting. But those ears are always on high alert. Very large head. So that I could actually hear the wind through one of these holes on the vehicle, and she reacted to that. I think what we might do is let them sleep and then continue on. It might be very hard to see tracks. I think majority of it would have been washed away with the rain. But we'll carry on into the west, see what else we can find before the rain starts coming down again.
From the hyenas to our vultures who are eating here, hyenas play an important role in control of our ecosystem as well as vultures. So this vulture here are eating on a carcass. It looks like a small carcass. I haven't seen the skull, so I'm predicting maybe it might be a wildebeest calf or maybe an impala. I'm not quite sure who killed that baby or small animal there, but these vultures are doing a very good job in the cleanup. You can see the lappet-faced vulture, the Ruppel's griffon vulture, and the marabou stork. So this carcass can be complete within the next 20 minutes. When you got here, it was already devoured, so they're nibbling actually on the little scraps of flesh that are on the bones there. It's reckoned that on a sitting, these vultures can fill up their crop within 20 minutes. So they have to eat as much as they can because there's competition. Whenever there's a carcass out in the open, vultures will swarm from all over to come and get something to eat. And so because of the numbers, they have to eat as much as they can. And look at those that are resting there. They've already filled up, or the crops are full, so they're just looking or watching over the rest as they're eating while they warm up their feathers. They will not take on live prey, but they depend mostly on carcasses or dead animals. But sometimes if there's a sickly off animal that is walking over in the plains, they are known to sometimes eat when their prey are already moving, especially when they have big scars. You can see them landing on top of these animals and start nibbling on the wounds until those animals drop dead. They have a very sharp eyesight. That is what helps them to locate food. Very clever also. Sometimes I've seen them flocking at the river crossing, knowing that the wildebeest will come and cross, and sometimes they wait for up to a week at these various crossing points because they know as the animals come and cross, some of them will stampede, die, and some will be caught by crocodiles. So that's how they get the advantage also. This time they're actually sharing, but sometimes you find the big vulture there, the one with the very pale head, the lappet-faced vulture, always bullies the rest and takes in first because there's a pecking order where these vultures will be the first one on the carcasses. See how he went? That is how he actually bullied the rest of the vultures. They're not happy actually with these other vultures. They need to command and they need that respect as they are feeding. Raphael, thank you so much for your question. I'll say we have a few aggressive birds. We have especially the raptors. The apex predator bird, the martial eagle, can be aggressive, especially when encountered. I've done lots of bird ringing, and when we're ringing those birds, they tend to be aggressive. So I'll put in a variety. We don't only have one, but we have a variety. Especially the raptors can be aggressive. Let's see if our small vulture, the hooded vulture, will come here, because that's the last one on the carcass as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, from well-mannered vultures to Africa's tallest Maasai giraffe on a stroll. How beautiful is that? Walking with a swag. We call it ambling. Look at the kind of gait it's got, the legs, quite unique to giraffe and all other species of giraffes. I was hoping she was gonna go down with the neck and try and feed on something on the ground. She's moving farther and farther. Every time I think she's trying to, okay. This is where the difficulty comes in for giraffes when they need to like stretch down and get something. They have to splay their their legs in a very awkward manner. As you can see, oh, there's a warthog walking in front. Looks like he just woke up. Yeah, that is, they splay their legs like that, which makes them really, really vulnerable. Although standing up, they have a very tall neck and can reach very high heights. When reaching down, giraffes have got some of the shortest necks, and without the ability of splaying their their legs, they could not reach the ground. But looks like it's an evolution that they had to do that. This is a female that is carrying a young one, and looks like she is ready any time from today to drop it. That is the scene that we have here. How beautiful is that? Hope you're enjoying this. It's live. It's coming from the Masai Mara. Continue talking to us. #WildEarth. Questions and comments are really, really welcome. This female, I would estimate she's a good maybe 13 plus, heading towards 14 months pregnant. So anytime she will be giving birth. Usually they give birth standing, and usually the young guy receives a very thud welcoming to the world, because it hits the ground and starts wiggling to try and get up. Yeah, well, she has said goodbye. She's walked out of the frame quite a long way down, and I'm left with nothing apart from, moving on down the road, see what I can find for you. But I'm sure I'll find some more giraffes that will tolerate me and stick around with me for a little bit longer. So don't you worry. And while I drive to get somewhere else, let's find out, what another safari vehicle is doing.
There's a black rhino close to us. Keeping very quiet.
he's not sure of what we are because the wind is blowing our scent away from him. But he's obviously very inquisitive. Eyes going straight back to the thicket. His tail just wants to pick up. But he's going to try and do a bit of a loop around us, I think. He's still listening to us. How incredible was that? Him coming so close to us and just listening to us. So we were keeping very quiet. Because if we made any sort of sound, or if I just raised my voice a little bit, he would have ran off immediately, quite nervous, and while he's on his territorial patrol, and he's gone right into the thicket there. And apart from giving him some shelter and hiding him, it is also one of their food sources in this area. Is feeding on tambuati trees like this. You can barely see him in the thickets there now. There he's coming out. Look at that. Okay. Keep a bit more quiet. But he's on the move again. Hold him. As he moves. Otherwise we're going to keep on looking for some other animals.
You keep an eye on that rhino. I am on Zoe's, and I am going to move towards the camp area because apparently there's some alarm calls. Some monkeys alarming in that area. James is also going to come through. It's just as helpful because I'm coming from the south and he's coming from the north. And we can kind of get both sides. So if the animal moves in either direction, we'll be able to get it. So that's what we're going to do now. It is freezing. But at least it stopped raining. So that is good. The Avoca bale, as we predicted, is not in the space that he was in last night. So hopefully he's enjoying that buffalo kill along with everyone else. Love that sound. We have to drive carefully through those puddles because you'll get terrapins and frogs and other things that will be hiding in there. But you definitely don't want to drive over. Terrapins are the main ones. And if you drive slowly, it gives them enough time to move aside. In fact, also the force of the water as you pushes them. As you drive, pushes them as well. It is a leaf. It is a leaf. It is not a snail. Thought it was a giant African land snail. We're coming up to my favorite tree. Viola, you'd like to know if the tortoises have made more appearances since the weather. Certainly, I've seen 2 leopard tortoises now. James has also seen a few. Here's my favorite tree. Excuse our rain roof. Our rain roof ain't big enough for this tree. It is a torchwood. Belanites mugami. It's just a fairy tale tree for me. I can imagine mushrooms all around it and lights in it. Look at that lichen. And the twisty, turny trunk. Just gorgeous. All right, we're going to make our way towards those alarm calls. Hopefully it will be fruitful.
Well, it's nice that Trishala has got her favorite tree at the moment. But here I have a fish eagle. And he looks like he's on a patch in an area where there's water and he's hunting. These guys have got amazing binocular vision that they're able to see underwater for a few feet. In clear water, they can see sometimes up to 3 feet. In the waters around here, only maybe about a foot, because some waters are quite shallow, some others are are deep. But they're equipped with amazing size talons, capability of grabbing those fishes while swimming at the surface, surprising them. Usually they'll hunt from one patch for very long periods. They would sit there, you'd think that nothing is going on, and all of a sudden they will swoop down and boom, they got something on their feet wiggling, and they're so powerful they'll just fly with it. I've seen one with a fish that was so heavy it couldn't fly high, it flew so low, and they're very smart. They'll try and fly quite a distance away from where they've caught it, so if it fights and releases itself, it doesn't have a chance to get back to the water. Usually they shear it and cut it into pieces with their knife-like beak, and they enjoy it. So they are masters of fishing and hunting fish. This is a bird that's found in most grassland, where there's grassland and water patches, rivers and lakes around Africa, a very common sight. And they usually pair for life, but they're never together. Unlike other small birds, these guys hang around by themselves. Look like he's got some different interest. He's trying to look nice. See that? He was trying to look nice for somebody. It's a really beautiful bird. I don't know if I can get it quickly in my book so I can show you closer, because I don't know how you see it over there. But it's such a magnificent bird of prey that has mastered the art of eating fish. Here along the Mara River, we get very many of them because there is abundance of mudfish, catfish, long-snouted fish. All those fishes are in abundance here in the Mara River, so there's no shortage of fish eagles. They sometimes, get kills from one another. They'll steal from one another, so sometimes they act like pirates. They are those ones that bully the others. They just wait for the others to get something, and then they'll steal it off them. Yeah, I've got it here. I don't know if Bungay, we can show it closer so we can see how it looks. Here it is in my bird Bible. You can see it over here. This is it. This is an African fish eagle. A very beautiful bird. You can tell it's got a yellow cere, black pointy beak. Yeah, and russet color at the belly. Yeah, very thick build, about 6 feet wingspan. This is the juvenile here, quite different. And these are adults in flight. It's the African fish eagle, and it's found west of Kenya, the whole of Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. So it's a very widespread bird. They say you can find it in areas over 300 meters. So about 3,000 feet you'll find it. And here we are, we've got it. And over there he's not doing much, but eventually he will take off and maybe join the partner or go fishing. Well, I'm gonna move on. Yep. Godfrey, Jumbo, are they related to the bald eagle? I think they resemble and look alike, and they're all eagles. They're very distant, but because they are raptors and eagles, they're in the same family, but I think very different species. The American eagle is very different. It's slightly bigger than this guy, but there are some details I'm missing there. So I would say I'm not really sure if they are related. They are raptors, they're birds of prey. That is one thing, but the fish eagle is found in Africa. It's much, much smaller, adapted to living in dry conditions. The bald eagle is adapted to living in snowy, cold places. So it's very, very different. So the eagles, that's one thing, but they're found in different places. I don't know if you find an answer on that with that. Well, I'm gonna continue on, see what else I can find you, and while I do that, let's take you to another live location.
This western sector of Pindo is just a gift that keeps on giving. We just came across quite a big herd of buffalo that seems like they are slowly getting up and getting a move on towards one of the watering holes. See, there's quite a few individuals that's actually lying down, and some of them that's starting to move around or so. You can see these big open rolling hills with lots of grassland, a lot of food for them around this area, and what a beautiful landscape that they are in. So there's quite a few of them lying down, you can see there, and it's a chilly morning, and I think they are all, well, actually one or two of them actually starting to lie down as well, trying to keep themselves nice and warm. Don't know if you can hear them making their noises there in the background as well. Often with the buffaloes starting to move around, you'll hear a few youngsters calling to their mothers also. Actually quite a few individuals that's heading in this direction. So I wonder if they've already made the trip down to the water to the left hand side and are slowly coming this way. You can see them coming up and just realize the vehicle is here and keeping an eye on us. Ooh, quite a few big bulls in this herd it seems, but lots of females as well. Yeah, these open grasslands here have been, seems like it's quite a popular spot at the moment, with all the new grazing, especially now after a bit of rain. Some of the watering holes have regained some water. I can actually just see further to the left there's another white rhino actually walking towards us as well. Priscilla, you're asking how many times and how often a buffalo would sleep. So buffalo are quite interesting because they need to lie down or stay in certain areas for a while to actually chew the cud. So they don't sleep that often, but they'll lie down and chew the cud quite a few times throughout the day, so they'll take like short naps, especially in the herds like this. So you'll find that they sleep every now and then. Like I said, like 3 or 4 times a day, they'll maybe take a short nap or so. So not too often. Have to be vigilant of any predators in the area. Actually, a big dominant, it looks like a big white rhino bull that's coming just on the edge of the herd here. Incredible that we have buffalo and rhinos in such a small area. Obviously, some very good grazing around here. There you can see the buffalo bull on the going to the right now, and there's the big rhino. Oh, the rhino is massive. Just listen to the buffalo making all their noises, and that tells us that they are slowly getting a move on. The whole herd's actually starting to feed a little bit more in this direction, so I think if we are patient, they might get nice and close to us. Not move the vehicle, so. This herd actually has quite a lot of bulls. Just by looking at younger bulls or so, the horns, as you can see, the horns are quite nice and thick and hard. And the females have less, not as heavy horns as the bulls do. But compared to other herds that I've been seeing in this area, this one has quite a lot of bulls. Not that many youngsters, but there's a few of them. Actually, almost all of them that we're looking at there. Okay, there's a few females in between. Look at those two actually horning each other a little bit there. So they're turning their horns towards each other. I think that's just a friendly sparring that's happening there. It's not really a full-on fight. Look at that. So the bulls might spar a bit between each other, and if there's full-on fights, it's often to establish the hierarchy of the bulls in a herd like this. The female in front just looking at us with her eldest calf looking at us, and there's some fork-tailed drongos flying in between the buffaloes to catch the insects that they are disturbing in the long grass as well. Oh, look at that. Actually hear the horns hitting each other every now and then. As you're asking who would win between those two that's sparring there, if I just look at them quickly, it seems like the one on the left-hand side is maybe a little bit older, lots of hair that's missing on his back there, but they do look similar in size, so it's difficult to say for sure. It really has to do with size, but also in this case, with them being so close in size, maybe the fight inside them. So if one of them gives up, then the other one obviously wins. But I think this is more than just like a friendly tussle than a full-on fight. It would have been way more aggressive if it was a full-on fight. You can see they actually are rubbing their heads against each other as well, so not too interested in fighting. But yeah, as these buffalo are slowly feeding to the right-hand side here past us, I think we are going to leave them be, as they are heading towards a thicker area. Maybe some nice lush grass growing around some of the bushes, and see if we can go look for some other animals.
here we have got a rather disturbed-looking bunch of Impala. And I say they're disturbed because most of them are staring very fixedly towards the north. There's only one idiot who's looking to the south, but he might just be having a sulk. So the others are all looking towards the north, and I'm not convinced there's anything there, because I think if there was, they'd be going... But there's something that has arrested their attention, and I'll drive up there. Remember, we cannot drive off-road today because the rain was too heavy, and we can do some damage. And I have had lion tracks going up and down the northern boundary. And I will tell you, I did tell you that the Nkuhuma is on a buffalo kill, but it's quite a long way from those tracks, and those tracks look like they're on top of the last really heavy rain. And so, well, the prospects have not been entirely favourable this morning. Perhaps we'll be lucky. They're now wandering off. Also in front of us, is a hornbill. I think a hornbill has just found a dung beetle to eat. That's it. The dung beetle was discarded, and now it's back to the old ant termite. And what you can hear there are the arrow-marked babblers making a loud, slightly irritating noise. It's always slightly irritating if you're trying to speak at the same time as they are. There, he's picked up his beetle again. I don't think he likes it very much. I think it's a beetle. You see the way he walks there? It looks like he's got a limp. It's like an unequal kind of shuffle. And that unequal shuffle gives him a very distinctive track on the road. No, he's not doing it so much. But there, you can see what I mean. What can you find? I'm sure they must be able to, in some way, sense the presence of subterranean insects. So if a dung beetle's buried itself or buried a bit of a ball somewhere close to the surface, I'm sure they must be able to sense that. Maybe they can feel the movement. But I suspect this hornbill will be doing a lot of its foraging on foot today as opposed to on the wing, because it's just not so easy to fly when the weather is this awful. Go ahead, Juma Rexon. I'm just chatting to Rex on the radio.
Yes, I'd like to help you on that Tswalu Kalahari. I'm on Central. Where did we need me to check on the inquest?
Rex, I only had a call of the monkeys from...
Look, it is a brown-headed parrot. Such beautiful birds. You can see that typical parrot beak. Very good for seeds and fruits, like flowers and nectar too. Typical parrot-like high-pitched call as well. Over here at Gallagher Pan, hoping that whatever was in that drainage that the monkeys were alarm calling at would walk out this way. So dam walls are closed, there's no off-roading and all of that, so we just got to stand by on the roads and see what comes our way. There's just a small glimpse behind all the bushes, but you can see those brown-grey feathers. They have a really bright green body that we were lucky enough to see. All right, we're going to sit tight and hope that we hear more alarm calls.
Here in the short grass plains of the Mara Triangle, we've come across a family of warthogs who are slowly grizzly. You can see they have small, teeny, tiny piglets. And the good thing that they have cover, they have a lot when it comes to predators coming around this area. We have lots of wildebeest, so at least they are safe for now. Those piglets look like they're about, I would say, a month old. A litter may consist of 6, but sometimes you find, because of the long grasses that they walk through, they end up being taken over by big birds of prey. They can be taken by cheetah and other predators. And when a warthog has the piglets, the male warthog will accompany them and until when they're about 6 months old, when they'll be independent, and he will walk away from them. They only associate when they're mating and when they have the piglets. They take advantage of the short grass plains. They're omnivorous. They'll eat sometimes on rodents. I've seen warthogs going after snakes. And at times you might see them on a carcass where they'll nibble on the carcass. But they're always encountered in the grass plains where they'll feed on the plant matter like grass. They have a very short neck, and that's the reason why you see they keep on bending their front feet forward and go on their knees to feed. Marianne, I can't agree more. Yes, these are beautiful coexistence between these two species. They're very cautious when they have the piglets, and whenever we stop, we have to keep the engine running to habituate them for a little while and then switch off. Because as soon as you locate them and approach them while the engine is running and then you switch it off, they all run. We sometimes call them the Kenyan Express because of how they run. Kenya comes first in the land or marathon runners, where everyone keeps on, running in a very, very similar manner, like how these warthogs keep on running. So when they raise their tails up, we call them the Kenyan Express. So when these piglets are born, their stomachs are not very strong, So what happens? They will eat onto their mother's dung to enable them to have that bacteria that will help them digest the food. So during the migration time, lions will feed on wildebeest and zebra. But when these migratory animals get back to Tanzania, the lions prey on warthogs. So warthogs can be at least sometimes very, very aggressive towards lions and other cats, especially the cheetah. I've seen cheetahs going for warthogs and they end up getting injured because of their tusks. So whenever predators go for them, they also have to be worried because those tusks can inflict big wounds to them. See, most of these animals are resting because it's flat grass, very low level. At least it's a good resting ground where they can see from all directions for coming predators. See, some of them are resting. It seems like there's a place where there's a water source here, so they don't have to walk for a long distance for water. So this is a good place to find or to locate cheetahs. So I'll drive around to see if I'll be lucky or successful to find the fastest land mammal. Seems like they're all happy and resting, so I'll take on to see if I can find the cheetah as we send you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, believe me, we are in a different location with totally different wildebeest. These ones you haven't seen, like I always tell you, they're always different ones. And actually can tell they're quite different. Yeah, these ones are new. They're very fresh. They just arrived in this area. And they are in their thousands. Look at that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Just an amazing sight. Yeah, as far as you can see, is just wildebeest. Some of them are really tired. And they're just resting. Remember, exhaustion is another part that they face for the really old and young. Exhaustion does take quite a number of lives during the migration. And, just imagine going through these plains for days without finding water just because you followed the wrong herd and your age is catching up, or you're too young and inexperienced, separated from your mom, and you don't have a drink for a week. Eventually, when you rest and you can get up. So exhaustion, it's another part of the life they face, and also it does take a good number of lives. Remember, the highest number of lives is taken by the Mara River, most of them being washed downstream by the heavy current. Sometimes, breaking their legs, forcing them not to be able to swim and being washed downstream. Another percentage is taken by crocodiles. The one and only mighty Nile crocodile, very big guys. I call them submarines because they're so big and they have stealth when swimming. They can swim really, really fast and can weigh up to a ton. So a wildebeest is just like a small snack for them. They just grab them and pull them under. So they take another big percentage. And then the lion plays the predators, the lion or the leopard, the cheetah, hyenas. Actually, I would say hyenas take most of, in predators list, they take most of the wildebeest, followed by lions and leopards. Hyenas, clan would eat, up to 2 per day. And so they take quite a large percentage of these animals. Where we are, is called Dirisha, a very beautiful area. JP, I don't know if I really got the whole question right, but you talked about graduating to smaller herds. And maybe let's rephrase the question again so that we can really get to understand it. Oh, JT, thank you, and Jumbo this morning. You want to know how often a herd this size break away into smaller size? Well, when they get to an area that is sparse and huge, they will disperse and form smaller herds. But here, definitely they are on a move, so they are making a stopover to make use or utilize the grass. So here they're huddled up in a huge herd, but when they get an area with enough space, they do make up smaller herds. But sometimes you find a small herd that has broken away from a main herd, and so it's small, and that is just how it has been formed, because they broke away. It was a small group, so they're just small. But definitely when they have a bigger open area, then they will spread out more and form small herds everywhere. But here, they can tell, they're moving from that direction, heading north, and this is just like a corridor. There is a river over this side, and there's escarpment that side. So it's not a large expanse, but it's enough area for them to graze as they move northwards. Yes, let's move on. Well, it's really nice to see that it is evident this is part of the migration, because you can see the young ones, the half-growns, the adults, males and females. If it was only males, then I would say, they were delayed, they were left behind, and they're going to catch up. But definitely seeing the young ones that are about 6 months old, it means that, Miguel, you ask if they are found anywhere else in Africa? Yes. Yes, they are found, there is a park called Amboseli National Park, south of Kenya, on the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro. You find the white-bearded gnu. Also, we have a mini migration called the Loiters Migration that migrates from the eastern side of the Maasai Mara to some plains towards Loiter. It's towards the Kenya-Tanzania border. So they're also found there. Those are the places that you really found them. I believe, they used to be found in a much larger area, but due to human population and increase in population, they have been restricted to this, western side of, the Mara Game Reserve and the Serengeti. Well, I'm continuing on. See if I can find a cut for you guys. And while I do that, let's take you to another live safari vehicle.
We've got a very interesting situation playing out here. There's at least one bird stuck there. The magpie shrike underneath the tree has hooked itself on one of the buffalo thorns, and I think they've actually got a nest in the middle of the tree. Now, it looked to us like the gymnogene above, the juvenile African harrier hawk, was also stuck. But I wonder if the harrier hawk hasn't figured out that the magpie shrike is stuck and is going to try and get hold of him. And it looks almost like that magpie shrike has caught itself like a fish gets hooked. I don't know if it's stuck on by the mouth or by the leg. Maybe it's the leg. But it's definitely hooked itself, and it cannot get free. I think it's just under the chin, actually. So let's see what the harrier hawk does. The rest of them, they're trying to chase the harrier hawk away. Now, I've never seen a bird caught in the thorns before. In fact, I think I've seen a waxbill, maybe. But it's very unusual. And in actual fact, if you look towards the middle of the tree now, you've got a couple of them going into the nest. This is quite distressing to see. Oh, shame. I'd love to go and cut it down, but I can't reach there. It's much too high for me to get to. Yeah, it's caught under the beak. I think. Unless it's one of the legs. Could be one of the legs. Beastly buffalo thorn. Is it a... It's not a buffalo thorn. It's a black monkey thorn, which makes it even more dastardly. So they'll pick that tree in order to put their nest in because it's supposed to be relatively safe from predators. Oh, shame. I don't think that harrier hawk is stuck. I think that harrier hawk realizes the other bird is stuck but has no idea how to get at it. There, he's free. He's got free. Oh, that's good. Well done. Hooray. Now, let's see what the harrier hawk does. Harrier hawk is having a very chill day. It wasn't when we got here. It was also looked like it was stuck. So I think I'll just wait and see if it flies off or stays. That's just lying off to the side behind another vehicle that's in the sighting with us. And you can see this one lioness is just sitting up and she's actually listening, and it sounds like by the sounds of it she's been calling the whole morning, and
we think that this one we can see ears listening forward. She's in the distance, and Craig and I actually saw tracks of what looked like her sub-adult cubs that are somewhere in the area, and we think that she might be looking for them. We saw the tracks going in the direction that she's listening to, so we are hoping that they'll actually take us towards them. But I wonder, because these sour-old males are getting a little bit older now, and male lions might be starting, or might start feeling a bit aggressive. She's calling us now. What a morning, Jan Pinder. We've seen so many rhinos, buffalo, and now...
Sorry about that, everyone. So just to keep you updated, our African harrier hawk jumped off and flew away and then went foraging somewhere else. But it looks to me like that nest is now occupied by one of the little magpie shrikes. And it looks like there are possibly eggs in there. I'm inferring that from the way that bird is sitting. Yeah, sitting on some eggs, I think. No wonder they were so deeply upset by the presence of the African harrier hawk. And unfortunately, you came to us just at the stage when the harrier hawk relaxed. It was trying to move around in that thorny black monkey thorn tree, and I mean, we thought initially, and Paul and I thought that was the bird that was stuck. It seemed to have its wings all tangled up and one of its feet stuck. It's not a black monkey thorn, it's a knob thorn. I can actually see some knobs on it. It's an entirely forgivable mistake at this distance, though. I shall forgive myself. Fascinating. Righty. We're going to continue from here now. Let's see what else this reserve has to offer us. All right, and Paul? We'll do a little 3-point turn and go back up towards the north. And then we'll head down south again. Well, when one reaches the northern boundary, one has only one choice, and that is to go south again, right?
Just came to us as the male lion is doing a phlegm and grimace. He actually got up and smelt the one female, and she gave him a bit of a claw. So this is telling us the whole story now. It's all unfolding. So the fact that the sub-adult males are not here, look at that. Look at those big teeth. Phlegm and grimace, passing the air through the Jacobson's organ in the roof of his mouth, testing the hormones of these females, seeing if they are in estrus or not. But I think one of these lionesses might be going into estrus now, the fact that the sub-adults are not here. So these males, or this male in particular, might start to feel a little bit threatened towards them. And that's maybe why they've chased them off with their mom going into estrus. Here we go. It seems like he's very interested in this female. Keeps on like looking towards her, so, but she keeps on listening there in the distance. It's going to be interesting to see if the sub-adults are in the distance. Everyone in the sighting is also looking in the direction. There's a big yawn. Look at that. And how beautiful is this male with this dark mane as well. So nice and cool. So the lions are not just falling asleep, but a little bit active every now and then as well. But this lioness that's sitting upright and listening and staring in the distance, think she's gonna get up sooner or later and maybe even call for her cubs or for her sub-adult cubs. We want to be here when they interact and maybe see if we can see some interesting behavior between all of them. See, the black behind the ears kind of shows us where she's listening to. See how this male lion is just looking at her, keeping an eye on her. He keeps on licking his lips. He might yawn again. What a beautiful male that is. And how big is he compared to that female? It's incredible. Here we go. Ah, here we go. Let's see what happens. She wants nothing to do with him. I think she's about to go into estrus because he can obviously smell that she is almost ready to mate, but just not ready yet. I love how he groomed her a little bit just to tell her it's okay. I hear you. No need to fight. Looking straight towards us there. See how he keeps on licking his lips, almost like he wants to yawn. I'd get a beautiful shot of him actually yawning towards us. Closing his eyes now. If you look closely, with this breeze blowing over all the lions, just picking their heads up briefly, smelling whatever the scent of the wind is bringing. He's got like a bit of an old scar on his right-hand eye, on our left-hand side. And I believe that was from fighting with his brother over dominance when one of the females was in estrus and in heat as well. See, both lionesses looking in the distance, so it's nice and long grass here. And this would be a good area for some of the grazing animals, a lot of lush grass growing. So apart from looking for her sub-adult cubs, I think they are also opportunistic, and if they see some animals come close by, they might take the chance to actually hunt as well. He keeps on pushing his tongue out and licking around his nose and mouth, like he's aiming to yawn. And there he's lying down now. See, this lioness keeps on listening. Dear, what are you asking if lions get pink eye? I'm actually not sure if that is a disease that lions can get. I guess they can get eye infections and so on. But the scar that this male has was actually from a claw getting very close to his eye. But what we could see is that his eye is completely fine and he has vision in it. So just to answer your question, I have no idea if they can get pink eye, especially the one that humans get. I think that might actually just be a human disease. The other vehicles just turned on. But these lions are super interested in whatever is going on there to the right hand side. I think if we hang around here, I might see them actually start to move around a bit. And maybe we'll get lucky and see them get up and stretch a bit or so. See the other lioness just flopping down and lying flat in the back there. there I can just see what they're looking at. There's some rhinos in the distance that are feeding around the corner, and that is what these lions have been looking at. That's what's been catching their attention. But I think Craig, what's been their attention. But I think Craig.
So guys, we are driving about. I must say it looks like the weather's clearing a little bit, which is quite nice. The clouds are thinning and there's a bit of light. At one point it went really, really dark and now it's looking good again. So James and I followed up on those alarm calls and I went to the Gallagher Pan side, but we heard nothing on that side, and he was on the Gari Dam on the northern side there. And we didn't hear anything else. So whatever it is, it's probably on the move and not towards Gallagher Pan. Otherwise we would have heard it. So it's obviously moving east. So James is in that area and I hope that he'll find whatever it was that caused the monkeys to alarm. Now, a couple days back, someone reported tracks for a female leopard coming into Djuma from the west, presumed to be Shidulu. Now, it's been a few days, and with the rain, all these tracks are basically washed out unless they're super, super fresh. But that is the reason I've been checking her usual haunts when she's on Djuma. It's been a long time since we've seen her. And Rebecca's Road is one of those haunts. I see a squirrel there, BK. Do you see him climbing up the mound? Let's just see if we get a good view. And off it goes to the other side. I see some other commotion from the birds. Bridget, you'd like to know what animals enjoy rainy weather? Animals that don't like to be dry. So from the big animals, elephants, they like the rain, they like the moisture, they like to keep cool. But the animals that we expect to come out because they're so happy that the rain has come are things like tortoises, terrapins, millipedes, frogs, snails, slugs. They love it. Dragonflies, I've been seeing dragonflies all over the place. We have some resting impala. The baboon's tail is all over the place, and after I saw one flowering, I've been seeing them all over the show. But none of the ones in frame at the moment are flowering. If I see another, I will show you. I'm getting a very stern look from this impala. Yes, I know it's cold, impala. I know you're probably very wet. And you're probably pregnant, so you're not enjoying this, are you? It's probably thinking, what are you staring at? You don't know me. So most of the ewes, so the female impalas, will be pregnant. Look at how beautiful she looks. Daniel, you'd like to know how we can tell when an impala is agitated. Very easily, actually. They're easy to read. So they'll stare off in one direction. Firstly, they will not be lying on the ground like that. They'd be up in alert. And even if you drive by, they'll stare at whatever it is that's gotten their attention. They won't even look at you, which is unusual because when you do drive by, Impala will always react to you. And apart from that, you'll hear snorting, you'll hear alarm calls. So it's quite easy to see when they are alert. Standing upright, very tall and proud, and the whole herd would be looking in one direction. And if you see that, you want to stop for a little bit, and then you may hear them start to alarm at whatever they've seen. But they will not be lying down like this. This is when they feel very comfortable, and they like to ruminate when they're lying down. Hello, you. Ha! See, it was a pun and I didn't even realize it. You can see they're starting to get a little chunky around the mid area. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all the lambs bounding about in a few months.
Now from Trish to here in the Maasai Mara, we have two ostrich, a pair of the common ostrich or the Maasai ostrich. Now that one is a female and she's actually accompanied by a male. Look at her brown feathers, look at his black feathers. He's busy out there feeding on the grass seeds and the grass, and sometimes they'll feed on rodents, even snakes. As they're walking, they have to keep on watching around because of predators. Although they're super fast, actually the fastest on 2 feet. He looks a little bit darker on his mane, and the pink neck and the pink leg looks like he's on a breeding plumage, but it's not that complete. Still in the process of the breeding plumage. We always see ostrich around this area mating during December, and if they're successful, the females will pick a spot where they'll lay their eggs, a clutch of about sometimes 30 or even 40 eggs. But interesting thing, when they lay their eggs at that one particular clutch, other female ostrich will come and lay their eggs there. But the alpha ostrich is the one that will lay or sit on the eggs until they hatch. And during that time, when she's sitting on the eggs, because they normally take turns, the males will take turn at night because of the black feathers that blend in during the dark, and the brown feathers of the female who takes turn to sit during the day actually blends in. If you look carefully, you see that the female is actually blending in the grasses. So during that time when they're sitting on the eggs, which is a duration of about 59 to 60 days until they hatch, the alpha female will actually push over her eggs and put them in the middle. So in that way, the eggs, or after they hatch, the chicks are assured that of course hers, and the rest of the eggs sometimes can be stolen by monkeys, they can be stolen by hyenas, and you'll sometimes see mongoose eating on the eggs. So the ones that are not hers will be put on the edges of the clutch. How interesting is that? So it's not the only one that lays the egg there so that she can lay until successful incubation, until when they hatch. Prime power, thank you so much for your question. Their prime predators are big cats, lion. I've seen hyenas going after them, leopard, Those are their prime predators. But we often don't see them being attacked because they're super fast. They have a good vision also. They have very big eyes. So whenever they're walking, they'll always be wary and vigilant for predators. So the male always marks a big territory where he will attract females to come into that territory. And sometimes you might see the male to be solitary. Sometimes you see the females to be with a flock of other females. But during this time when he's on breeding plumage, he will be accompanying himself with the female there. This is a good scenery. I'm going to hang around here for a little while as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, we have moved on quite a long way towards the river, and we've come along this water course, and it's a quenching spot for most animals. As you can see, this is perfect for them to have a drink at peace, because there usually no crocodiles. I'm expecting that they will go down in big numbers to have a drink, but looks like they're taking their time, or they've already had their drink, some of them, but you can tell big numbers are coming down. So I expect them to all get into the water and enjoy a well-deserved drink, because they've been out exposed in this extreme sun that is really picking up and warming up. It's going to be one of the warmest days of the week. Yes, it is a Monday, but I think it's going to be one of the warmest days because it's already quite hot. I've shaded all my layers, and these guys, I'm sure they're feeling hot. They need to quench their thirst. These water are permanent. Usually it does go down, but never dries up. So it's a nice spot for them to come and drink, safer than going to the river. Remember, zebras and wildebeest can go for up to around 3-4 days without a drink. They're not water dependent, and when they find some, they really feel their tummies. Looks like they're taking their time, although they're not behaving like when they're at the river, where they look much more skittish. Here looks like, yeah, they will go down and have a drink. But still, the water reminds them of the river, and they have to be cautious. But surprisingly, once they get their feet in, sometimes they get carried away and want to, or think that the water further ahead from them, maybe a foot or 3 foot away from them, is cleaner or tastes better. And then you start seeing them inching in and in and in, and then eventually the whole place is filled up with wildebeest and zebra. Yeah, looks like that one. He is very thirsty. And yeah, they're coming, more and more are going to be coming. I can see quite a good number, maybe 100 coming. I don't know if you see them, Bungay. They're all coming, so it's going to be a nice active little pool with zebra and wildebeest, everybody wanting to quench their thirst this morning. Look at that, they're all coming. And remember, we haven't seen a wildebeest twice. This is all different. They're all different wildebeest, they're all different zebra. We have driven quite a long way from the first zebra we showed you at sunrise. So these are totally different. I don't know if the zebra is gonna get in totally. They sometimes do that. I'm really looking forward and hope I can share that with you. They normally get in very deep. This is the butchers, or the common zebra. I call it the stripies sometimes. Yeah, they're coming in. It looks like there's a shallow spot where they can drink and not really get in. but I tell you, the numbers are getting bigger and bigger. Sometimes this is what forces them to cross when they're at the river, because the pressure from the behind mounts and they just get pushed inside. And, one gets pushed inside and everybody else thinks that, he's just jumped in because it's the right place to cross, and everybody starts jumping. I'm sure you have seen those recorded documentaries where they do that. Oh, thank you, big guy. He's decided to come this side. Yes, that is what I'm expecting, for them to come closer and closer to me so we can see them go in and drink. It's going to be amazing sight. Always nice to see some animals doing something. And here is a place. Well, remember to talk to me, #WildEarth. Questions and comments are really, really welcome, but we are here at Mugoro. This is the laga that is called Mugoro Crossing, and never dries up. It's always full of action. I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer. Hopefully you'll catch me right here. Let's see what's happening somewhere else.
So these lines have moved around a little bit. The male got up and lightning or clawed towards him. There she just gave a bit of a yawn, and see the male's up again. So we might try his luck again. Lush and full that mane is. See, the female also groom herself every now and then and give a bit of a yawn. Oh, lying down though. Look how the male kind of pulled his head back a little bit. Doesn't want to be too close to that female because she is a little bit grumpy towards him. It seems like they're all kind of falling asleep. They are a little bit protected against this breeze that's blowing over the grass, from the long grass or so. And it's actually a very chilly day here today. We are almost fully into summer now, but we've got a bit of a cold front and quite a bit of rain throughout South Africa. And today at least it's not raining here, so we can have a look at these lines here, but it is quite chilly, and that's why these lions, I think, are also happy to just kind of snuggle themselves up, especially like this male is lying, trying to keep himself as warm as possible. The rhinos that they were looking at earlier have kind of moved off, and they were all showing a little bit of interest in them earlier, because there was actually a young calf next to one of the rhinos. See his mane just blowing in the wind. So the fact that the other lioness is just lying off to the side, she's not going into easters, but you can see how close he's lying to the one here closest to us. Having a nice snooze, and we could hear some animals alarm calling in the distance, and I heard an update on the radio earlier. I wonder if the sub-adult males are somewhere in the vicinity, so maybe looking for their mum. Luckily there's 3 of them, so they've got some other individuals to be with. It's not like it's just one of them by itself. I'm sure they are maybe not far away, just keeping close to these females, but far enough for the males to not feel threatened to them. This area that these lions are lying in is also quite good for hunting. A little bit difficult because it's not a very dense area, but the grass is nice and long, so if something should come into this direction and these lions are sleeping, they'll be very opportunistic there. The male's up, he's looking and listening to the female there. then I was saying that male lions have quite a hard life. You see the female just picking her head up and smelling the air as the wind's blowing over them. So, yes, indeed, like with male lions, when they get kicked out of their pride as young males, they obviously get fought with the male lions, the dominant male lions, but the females will also start fighting with them when they get a little bit older and push them out of the pride. And then they have to look after themselves, hunt for themselves, and then try and build their strength to be able to fight for a different pride, or maybe their pride again one day. Try and take over the pride and fight off the dominant males. But a hard life indeed, where the females will generally stay within their pride and have other females looking after them and help them to hunt. So she's actually listening straight ahead of us now. Maybe some movement that's caught her eye. Oh, she just bobbed her head around. Oh, there's a warthog. There's a warthog really close to us here. So if you look, there's the male lion, and there's a warthog that's just come out. And smelling the air. Look how the warthog's picking its head up and smelling the air. I think he smelled. This lion has definitely seen him. But the wind's blowing the scent of these lions straight onto the warthog. You can see him picking his head up, smelling the lions. Doing a bit of heading in the opposite direction. Interesting that these lions didn't like get up and try, but I think it's because they could see the behavior of that warthog as it was smelling them, and would have been very difficult for them to try and hunt that warthog. But for now, I think we're gonna stick around here and see what these lions get up to, see the males up again. And, I've just flopped down. We'll stick around and see what they get up to.
Well, looks like more and more wildebeest and zebra are coming to this area. They haven't really come towards me, but they are still coming. This stream, or this laga in Swahili means a washout or a riverbed that has been made by water over the years. Stretches quite a long way up, but they have decided to go further up and not towards me. Some of these guys you see here are some of the ones that have drunk water, and so either they are waiting for the rest of the members of the family to have a drink and then they can continue, or they are too heavy after eating so much grass and they were too thirsty. Now they have eaten, maybe the grass has expanded, and so they're so heavy they feel a little bit like when you've eaten too much. They just want to have a little bit of rest and then maybe continue on. They haven't gotten in like I really expected. Sometimes they wade in and you just see their backs. I was really hoping to see that. I'm still hoping to see it. Never say never over here. Anything is very possible. And over here you can tell they are not as skittish as being down at the river, but there is a very good advantage that both sides of this laga are flat with very short grass, so there's nothing to worry about. Yeah, that's a very expectant female zebra over there. Yeah, zebras here in the Mara or all over Africa carries their young ones up to about a year, and they can always come into estrus even while suckling. So it's an animal that you can find suckling two offsprings, one older, almost a year and a half, another one younger. You can tell at a distance that there is big, huge herds of wildebeest coming down for a drink. Yeah, very many. And closer to me is just a zebra, but along where you see there is just wildebeest. It's just a fantastic, beautiful scene. I hope you're enjoying this. It's really super cool. That's a young one, maybe 3 months old. And he's just done maybe his first migration, or he was born when they arrived here. And he's got a long journey to head back towards the southern side of Serengeti. I don't know if he knows what lies ahead. It's time to go for a drink for him or her. He's been cautious. It looks like there's a mini crossing there. You can see some wildebeest jumping. They stopped. Is it Sandy or I don't think Sandy? Truthfully, they'll go to the river and cross this week. Definitely. There will be a crossing somewhere this week. I predict it will be one of the crossings. We call it now, we have nicknamed it the mortuary because we witnessed quite a lot of wildebeest die within a very few hours. So we have nicknamed it mortuary. That is the one much closer to our camp. That's where we think they're going to cross, because it is one of the only few places where they're really gathered in huge numbers. There is a zebra quite close to us here that's having a drink. You can tell that the stretch neck is to get as much water as possible, but also being very wary. You can imagine going without water for 3 days, how it feels. It's just hard to imagine going for 3 hours without water. These guys have gone 3 days without water. Is it Daisy? Have I seen any predators lurking by? Not yet. I haven't seen any. But they could be in the long grass. There could be any. It's a possibility that there is a predator somewhere. I was just talking to Bungay, saying that this is a perfect spot for a lion to ambush these guys while they're drinking. But we haven't seen any. Remember, there is a pride called the Mugoro. The two sisters that really are masters of bringing down zebra and wildebeest. Yes, we haven't seen them, but I know they're somewhere. So there isn't any predators. It's just the wildebeest and zebra. Well, I'm going to move slightly further and come back here maybe in around 10 minutes, see what's happening. And while I do that, let's see what another safari vehicle has got for you.
From the other side of the Mara to here where we have topis, zebras and wildebeest, and there's a lone hippo that is walking just on the edges of the bank of the Mara River. So this looks like they want to go and cross the Mara River. So crossing fingers, you can see they're led by the topis. Topis are very good at crossing the river. And sometimes when they get to the river, they don't wait, they don't hesitate, they just go about it. Especially when there's no crocodile within their sight. So I can see a big herd coming our direction, and they're just about to get to one of the crossing points. So along this Mara River we have multiple crossing points, and this is one of them. So we've had herds coming around here and then going back because of the movement and the weather pattern, because it's been raining over near the escarpment. But I think none of these herds have crossed over to the other side for greener pastures. So let's hope if they'll cross. This is a big herd, is at least a good number. Sometimes when they get or gather towards the river, the numbers keep on pushing, and that is what that sometimes make them cross. But if it's a small herd, sometimes they're hesitant when they get to the river. Something spooks them, and then they just run back. So it seems like they're actually up for it. They're walking close to the river, but sometimes they get to the bank and then come back. So let's hope that the toppies will be brave enough to go across the river. Look at how they're concentrating there. It's so nice to see this. The toppies have decided to come back. This is a game of patience. We have to wait sometimes. I've had to wait one day for up to 7 hours before I witnessed a crossing. The hippo is not happy. You can see the hippos spooked them actually. They've decided to walk out of the crossing point there. So we've seen a big number also coming towards the river from the plains. So we're hoping that these herds will be joined by other herds that are coming here. And that will be good because the bigger the number, the more pressure that amounts and then push them over to cross the river, because one thing that draws them to the water is thirst. And some of them, as they were drinking and the numbers keep on pushing from behind, it makes them prompts them to cross the river. The hippo has gone away, so I think they might decide to return back. So when they come to the river, they have to take a look because they're also hesitant because of the predators. Sometimes they have to watch the river for crocs. And sometimes if there are crocs at where they're thinking of crossing, they decide to go to another crossing point. Like I said earlier, they don't have designated leaders, so each one can be the leader. One walks over, stops, then the rest come and take the lead, so it keeps on alternating. So I'm giving them space so that they can decide to get closer to the water, and as soon as they get too close, or maybe when they decide to get across, that's when I'll move a little bit closer. Because sometimes when you're too close, we end up spooking them. So I don't want to spook them at all. This year we've been quite lucky because to have these herds at this time of the year now, it's quite interesting and unusual also. But because of the change of weather pattern that we've been experiencing over the years, the migration pattern keeps on changing gradually. They're closing in. You can see some walking towards the river now. So during the migration period, you find that toppies will also join these herds of zebras and wildebeest, and sometimes even Thompson gazelles. So some of these toppies that we're seeing here are migrant toppies that come all the way from Serengeti to the Maasai Mara. So some of them go to the river, get close to the water, and then come back, take turns. So it keeps on going like that until one decides to get across. one thing is that when they're close to the river and the other wildebeest see them gathering at the river, they're also prompted to come and join. And as the numbers keep on increasing, that is what can make them cross. Because sometimes these small herds end up close to the water and then get spooked and then run off to the mainland. It's a long time since I've seen topis cross the river, so I'll be patiently waiting, crossing my fingers to see these topis cross. The temperatures are rising, so most of them are thirsty. So that's one good thing that will attract them to actually get to the water. You can see the young one, the calves, are waiting behind to see what the older one, the experienced ones, will do. Because most of these are experienced, they've done this for maybe 4, 3, or more than 4 times. So the calves, some of these calves that we see here, is their first time from the migration. Rhino, I'll give you an estimate. So it's reckoned that about 1.5 million wildebeest migrate, about 400,000 with zebras, about 200,000 mix of topi and Thompson gazelles and also inland. So I'll say roughly about 2.3 million animals migrate each year. And then there's a number that is also estimated that about 200,000 get killed during that migration time because of predators, some getting stampeded along the rivers or in little mud pools or wherever they're walking. So with the numbers increasing, there's some that also keeps the balance, which is of course nature taking its course. It's a game of patience, so even though it looks so good that they might cross, sometimes we wait and wait and wait, and they end up not getting across. See, now they're gathering at the river. No one is actually taking turn to go to the water, so they just wait there. And as the temperatures keep on rising, some of them might be thirsty and decide to go and drink. And when the rest follow, then the pressure keeps on pushing them, and they end up getting to the water. And once in the water, they decide to get across. So, with this mixed herd, security is heightened. They can all see predators. Topis have very sharp eyes. Zebras have sharp eyes. So look at what is happening. Some of the topis are facing different or opposite direction. So I'm going to sit around here, wait for the crossing to happen. Fingers crossed, as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
I'm also crossing fingers. I am crossing fingers for your crossing, but also that the den that's at the southern end of Cheetah Cut Line on the junction with the fire break is active, or at least there's some signs that it'll be active. That's what I'm crossing fingers for. It's not too far away. Probably another one. 500 meters or so. Maybe that's where they've gone to. And the wind is picking up. I have checked every other den. And it's understandable that they would have had some sort of hyena discussion, however that goes, to figure out where's the safest space for their young ones. And all the dens that I had seen, or that I went checking, were dens where they were in the block that the lions would have walked through, because we had the lions for a few days. So they were in that block, so it's understandable that they probably weren't in those dens too. But this den, I feel, is a little bit more protected. Oops. It's a little bit more protected, and the animals, the lions, would move away from the fire breaks and the main roads and kind of into the block. So I don't know, maybe just thinking positively, but I'm almost there, and I'll let you know what I find.
Well, one should always think positively, Trishala, especially as breakfast approaches. Here's a kudu that I'm very surprised has acquiesced to being on screen. We stopped here and gave it a chance to run away. I actually asked it, I said, would you like to be on television? And the kudu just looked at me. Normally they then walk off, either gingerly or quite fast. And this one just looked at us. So Paul said to it, all you need to do is smile. And so she smiled. And then she even did a little bit of eating for us. So remarkable. She was very patient. Now she's had enough. She feels that her fame is sufficient. Maybe she'll give us one more look. Yes, there we have a view of her left flanks and buttocks. And you can probably hear two birds in the background. One is the fork-tailed drongo, quack, quack. The other is the subtle call of the Birchall's cuckoo. See? Our kudu friend thinks that that's a very beautiful call. There, you've just heard it again. Obviously, the Franklins are still yelling their heads off. They just can't help themselves. Couple of rattlings of sticklers. Hello, Bernie. You say you love those ears? Yes, they are impressive ears, those ones. They are, of course, very functional. Perfectly shaped to focus sound into them like little satellite dishes. And not only that, they also move independently of each other, so the kudu can hear in front and behind her at the same time. And Paul, will you bring the camera back to the dashboard as fast as you can? There's an absolutely astounding spider. I'm going to put my... Can you see it? Look at the spider. Right, now I'm going to make it move. Watch it move. Don't bite me, spider. Move. See? It's got 4 unbelievably long front legs and 4 unbelievably short back legs. Now, I'm assuming it's been designed like that because it is, of course, entirely symmetrical. In other words, I think it's unlikely that something is bitten off its back legs so accurately and neatly in a symmetrical fashion. Now, I feel like I should know what kind of spider this is, and in fact, I can picture it in the book. You think I can picture its name? Forget it. No ways. Anyway, I'll look it up again. Come on, walkies. There we are. That was cool. Sorry, Mrs. Kuru, she's left in high dudgeon now. Okay, let's carry on. We've had no further luck with those lion tracks, and nor's Rex, who was helping us out. So we'll do one more pass over that area and then call it quits, I think. The last tracks we had were just up here.
Still here, I haven't left. Our movement here has been restricted by these wildebeest and toppies. I can see zebras joining in, so making it even more interesting because toppies and zebras have a very good experience and they're very brave when it comes to crossing the river. Some of the wildebeest have decided to move on, but while others have decided to go back, it's drawing attention and the others are soon coming back. You can see the young toppies there. So these toppies are also wary because of the crocs. Probably maybe there might be a croc there. And that sometimes can be a hindrance for them to cross the river. Because of their sharp eyes, they have to look keenly in the waters there. And of course these crocodiles are very, very also experienced because they have that third eyelid that protects their eyes. So when they're submerged in the murky waters, you can't really see if there's crocodiles. This also helps them to see through the water, and that is what gains them or gives them an ability to hunt in these murky waters. So with that, sometimes the toppies have to look keenly on the water waves as the crocodiles keep swimming towards the banks. It seems like they have a meeting there, deciding who's going to be the leader. They're also contemplating on who's going where and where to cross. So it's so interesting to see this kind of mixed herd, zebra, topi, and wildebeest. More zebra, more topi coming in. Charmaine, thank you for your question. The adult or mother wildebeest never leave their young ones, but sometimes because of the big numbers that flock these crossing points, sometimes the young ones or the adults can get to either side, leaving one member of their family, that is maybe a calf. And when that happens, the mothers decide to come back to cross, but always they have to accompany them during these escapades. So the zebras who join in have decided to graze a little bit. You can see the stallion, they are kicking them out. They've decided to carry on with grazing when this other one is decided to go to a different sighting. Maybe scanning the area to see if the rest of the species might decide to cross. Because temperatures are rising, everyone wants to drink water. And no one wants to take the risk. No one wants to go fast. Probably there might be a crocodile there. These zebras have decided to get back. So along this river upstream, there is a main crossing point where, if that is not a good crossing point, they might decide to go to the main crossing point. Still waiting here to see what's going to happen next as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, I have waterbuck. It's called the Defasa waterbuck, and this is a mom letting its young one drink. And looks like the little guy is really enjoying the milk. The little guy was born after a gestation period of about 7 to 8 months. And these waterbuck inhabit these habitats of Africa, grassland and marshland. That's where they are found. Also in scrubland, they are found, and they go in harems of up to 15 with one male. Usually you will find, a male amongst them that has got amazing huge horns. Usually he reaches maturity about the age of about 6 to 7. And he's, Bungay is going to be sharing with you. He's right here, sitting down to our left. Yes, this is an antelope that inhabits the marsh and scrubland. As you can see, they can totally weigh up to around 300 kilos. And hence their name, Defasa waterbuck. They love places with water. Very hairy, or I would call it hairy, and I think it's an adaptation to keep them warm. It's in the same family as in the Bovidae family, related to the buffalo and the large antelopes, the cows and the eland. And that guy sitting down there, and this one's over here, everybody, they are chewing their cud, they ruminate after filling their large intestines. That's a female. It looks like he's got lots of flies, and that's why he's flicking the ears, shaking the head. These guys, their only enemy mainly, it's lion and leopard. Hyenas will also hunt them, but rarely, because they always play in places where there's water. They have amazing senses, so they can detect danger from a very long way. One thing about them is that they are very, very smelly. I don't know where the smell comes from, but it could be their sweat. You actually, if you've lived in the bush long enough, if you have had contact with them, you'll always pick up where they are. I do that every time I drive very close to them. I can pick up their smell. It's a very, very thick, musky-like smell, and I think it comes from their sweat. Yes, it's a beautiful scene. As you can see, everybody's around here. Females, young ones, half-growns. Yeah, and this is a live safari, remember? We are in Masai Mara, the Mara Triangle. And I've come across this beautiful herd of waterbuck, common waterbuck. It is the only one of its kind that we find here. We do have another kind called the common, but it's not found here. What is that? Is it a hippo? Yes, it is a hippo. And he's out. I think he feels very safe being out of water, but looks like he's headed towards the bushes because the sun is really warming up. Might get sunburn, which is not good for him. But where it's safe, it's quiet, you will find hippos outside. Well, here is the rest of the harem. Yeah. Yeah, looks like there's a youngster on the mound there with the horns, maybe a year old. Then the rest are all females with the young ones. Yeah, that's a youngster, maybe a month old. Well, I'm gonna stay here a little bit longer. And if they start, they get up, I'll stay here. If they don't, I'm gonna move on. But let's find out what's happening somewhere else.
From that other side of the Mara to our waiting herds, who seem like they're not keen to cross, but I can see some of the zebras close to the waters. But probably there might be a big croc, maybe one, maybe two, and that sometimes is what that hinders them from crossing. See, some of these have calves, and no one wants to take a risk, no one wants to take a chance and expose their calves to danger. The Topis have decided to maybe choose another crossing point, while some wildebeests are also closing the gap, getting closer to the water. But sometimes we see them relaxed at this river crossing, that tells that they're not keen to cross at that very moment. Until, or maybe sometime, one of them might just jump into the water and decide to get across, and which also heightens the attention of these other ones, and they join. If it's going to happen, then it's going to be a big crossing, because I've seen a big number of wildebeest out in the plains who look like they're wanting to come this direction. Nicholas, thank you for your question. So the Topis at the moment here in the Mara are within there's a place called Topi Plains where we have lots of Topis, and then a few scattered herds towards the Mara River, and then some before you get to a place called the Marsh. So we have a big marsh where we have a big concentration of Topis, and the Topi Plains, and just near the river. So could be most of them have decided to take a different route, and sometimes when they look and see it's not safe, they all decide to walk away. But I've seen zebras actually crossing where they've seen big crocs, because there's so much experience when they're crossing the river. I've seen them kicking actually crocs, and some jumping over the big crocs, because as soon as the crocs lift up their heads, when they take down to the water, it takes a little while before they make another move, and that makes the zebras cross the river. It's a game of patience, so I'm still here waiting for these herds. But I can see most of them are just leaving this crossing point, quite keen and interested to see where they're going to. As we link you over to another, I'll send you over to another vehicle.
Well, this waterback looks like they're having a wonderful morning, and I've decided to stick with them for a little bit, see what they're up to. The place they look quite safe. There is no predators as I see, because I'm actually on a raised spot, so I can see quite around, so they're quite okay. And this female looks like, apart from us, I think we look very entertaining to her. The only other thing that's disturbing her is a few flies while she enjoys her ruminating. Could have some biting insects on her legs. That's why she's lifting her legs every now and then. And also around the ears. That's why she's shaking the head. It's got relatively a very long tongue. Every now and then you'll see it. Look at that. DJ Jumbo, why are they so many females in comparison to males? Well, in animal, and especially in the antelope family, there is what is called a breeding herd, and this is one of them. Many of the antelopes form these small herds where they dominate them for a very short period of time or a tenure, and once they feel that, once they start becoming weak, I mean the males, other males will take over the harem. Also, it is important for the strongest male, that means he's got the best gene, to spread his gene to quite a number of females, and so they usually dominate a good number of females for this reason, to sire future stronger generation. But it is normal to find many of the antelope's family hanging around together with only one male. We also come across, a very big herd of males. We call them the bachelor group, and they normally hang around together. Basically, it's like a boys' club where, they hang around together. It's like going to the gym, getting fit, making sure you're really good, and then finding who is the strongest amongst you. You climb up to the top of the hierarchy, then you break away from the bachelor boys and go try and challenge the prevailing male with all the females. And that guarantees that, definitely, strong genes are always, produced. And that's why, you always have one male with all these females. Looks like, they have decided to move on, and exactly the main reason, I think, with their thick coat, they could be getting hot and might get overheated. So the strategy here is to, try and move towards the bushes where, they can be in thick bush and cover so they don't get hot. But definitely later on in the evening, they will come out to graze on this lush, grass that is found everywhere around this area. Apart from them, there could be more animals in that bush, like baboons, hippos, elephants, all those animals that prefer the thick bush because it's hot in there, because it's hot out here, so they try and stick into the bushes. Well, it's been nice having you all. See you this afternoon. Bye-bye.
This is unbelievable stuff.
The world's most famous live adventure can be found right here on Wild Earth.
Look at this, isn't this absolutely amazing?
Climb aboard and catch up with our royal leopard family from the Great Kruger, the majestic. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses.